Imagine that you just had a beautiful fast with your family and you had an amazing iftar full of your favorite food, right? And you had Maghrib with your family, you're sitting with your spouse, you are enjoying the time, you're having a great conversation, reflecting on the day, your kids are laughing in the background. When all of a sudden you develop a chest twinge, right? And you think to yourself, it must be all the samosa that I had, because samosas are delicious, we all agree. But after a while, this chest pain comes back. And it comes back with such a force and a ferocity that now you're short of breath. And now you have palpitations. And now you feel like you're going to pass out. And in that moment, your wife calls 911. The paramedics arrive and they see you clutching your chest. You're really hurting at this moment. And in that moment when they come, you pass out. They put you on the EKG, they tell your family that you're having a major heart attack. And in that moment, you completely flatline. You are trying to die in that moment. And in that moment, the dramatics begin, right? They start pressing on your chest. They give you adrenaline shot after adrenaline shot after adrenaline shot, and they even start to defibrillate you again and again and again. And in that moment, my brothers, nothing else matters. Not the education that you had, not the money that you've saved, not even the people in that room, right? In that moment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, on a day where neither the wealth or the children will benefit him, إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَاهَ اللَّهَ بِقَلْبِ السَّلِيمِ. Only a heart that is pure, only a heart that is sound, that you can take back to him. So my first question is going to be, are you living a life with the qalb salim? Right? So that is death. That is the moment of death. You have to think about how has your heart been in that moment. What about life? If we look at the other spectrum, when a baby is being formed in its mother's womb, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He sends the ruh into that baby. And He causes this inanimate object, the heart, to start beating. And from that moment, it beats about 100,000 times a day. And ever since the pregnancy is complete, and when the baby is born, and when the baby grows up and becomes a child and a man or a woman, it beats at 100,000 times a day. My question is that in the 100,000 times a day that you've had heartbeats today, how much did you spend in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Right? It's something to reflect on. When we think about the heart in the chest, it is an organ full of plumbing, electrical, mechanical. It is formed of blood vessels. It sends blood to and from the tissues. And we can all agree it's a magnificent organ, right? And when someone asks me, and I'm sure a lot of people have asked you, especially the non-Muslims, give me proof that Allah exists. If you were to ask me that question, I would show them the human heart. Because who else but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can make something so magnificent? A human being cannot do that. And as amazing as the heart is, the Quran refers to the heart as the qalb. And the qalb is more than the heart. The qalb is the seat of spirituality. It is the center of action and reflection. And the heart actually has a natural fitrah. When we are born, it is inclined towards the heart. It wants to engage with Allah. It is inclined to the sirat al-mustaqim, right? So that is our natural inclination with the heart. And we feel it every day. You feel it today because you are here today. But then what happens is that we have distraction. We have distraction from the shaitan and his waswas and we're ultimately toggling between the natural fitrah, and we are also toggling between the natural distraction. So accordingly, we have three types of qalbs, depending on which of those two things wins. The first is the qalb salim, right? That's the one we talked about earlier. The qalb salim is the pure or the golden heart. It's the living heart, right? It is the one inclined towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is upon the haqq, upon the truth. It is motivated and has ambition to listen to its ruler, to its king, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when we have the qalb salim and we listen to the Quran, we actually tremble. We have reverence for the Quran. And when we fast, it's the most beautiful fast. And when we do salah, it is full of khushu and focus. And when the qalb salim, it is asked to give charity, it does it generously. Right? That is qalb salim. And who is the greatest example of qalb salim except Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Think about the incidents when he was a child, and I've heard this story a lot, I was reflecting on it. When he was a child, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the angel Jibreel alayhi salam came to him. He put his hands in his chest, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he washed his heart with Zamzam water. And he took a black speck off the heart. And I was thinking about that in that moment, he made this heart uncorruptible. And so the man, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he became uncorruptible. Right? But there are other examples of qalb salim. You have Ibrahim alayhi salam, who was tossed into the fire, and he used his qalb salim. He said, Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel. Oh Allah, you are the disposer of my affairs. And that hot fire, it became a cool cocoon of comfort. And qalb salim was also exercised by Musa alayhi salam when he had no out and there was the ocean in front of him. He used his yaqeen and qalb salim to call upon Allah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he split the ocean and he gave safe passage to his people. That is qalb salim. But there is also something called qalb murid, number 2. That is the diseased heart. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we have created a disease in these hearts. So think about this. When it hears the Quran, it feels nothing. It's just words for that kind of heart. And when we do salah, it is just different positions and different postures. And when we try to fast with a qalb murid, it's just about what time is aftar, what are we going to eat tonight? And when you are asked to give charity and you have a qalb murid, it's going to be, well, we had a fundraiser yesterday, why are we having another one today? And who are the examples of qalb murid except the human condition, right? We're all responsible for that. We have these thoughts. This is where we have to check ourselves so that we can become qalb salim. And then finally, there is the qalb qasi. And the qalb qasi, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that this is a dead heart, or a heart that's not alive anymore. He says that we have put khatam Allah ala qulubihim, a seal on this heart. It's a locked heart. It is impervious to guidance. Quran, it stays away. Salah, it stays away. My brothers, I had a friend that I called in before Ramadan. I hadn't talked to him in a very long time, maybe a decade. And I said, what's the plan for Ramadan, right? And he said, brother, I don't do Ramadan anymore. I haven't done it for 3 or 4 years. And I don't do Salah, and I have renounced Islam. I have left Islam. I am now an atheist. You know, his heart went from murid to qasi because the doubt lingered and festered. And his heart was locked. Khatm Allah, right? And it cannot be opened again anymore. They have no guidance anymore. And the examples are that of the Fir'aun when he was so arrogant and full of spite, despite the examples in front of him, the calamities around him, he was swallowed by his ocean because of qalb qasi, a locked heart. And the children of Israel, when you gave them guidance upon guidance, they only met it with question upon question. These are the three types of qalbs. Now, I just want to finish by saying that in Surah Araf, the shaitan has a conversation with Allah Azza wa Jal. He said that I will attack the Muslims from the front, from the back, from the right, and from the left. And there is a famous tafsir about this. Imagine yourself to be a traveler and the final destination is the raza of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? The hereafter and the judgment. He will attack you from the front by telling you that the hereafter doesn't matter. It's far away if it exists at all. It's trying to convince you that it's not important. Don't think about it. He will attack you from behind by reminding you of the dunya that you are leaving behind. And there are many examples of that. He will attack you from the right by telling you that your good deeds do not matter. Your sunnah fasts do not matter. Your nawafil do not matter. Your extra Quran doesn't matter. Just do the bare minimum. And he will attack you from the left by glorifying your sins. He will say, it's okay to sell alcohol as long as you don't drink it. He will say that it's okay to gamble. If you win, you can give it as a donation to the masjid. So this is how the shaitan will attack from the front, from the back, and from the right, and from the left. But if you have a qalb salim, and your heartstrings are attached to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have that direction, the above direction in which to ask for guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I will end with some du'as. Allahumma ya muqallib al-qulub, thabbit qalbi ala dinak. O Allah, turner of hearts, keep our hearts firm upon your religion. Allahumma addi qalbi wa sami wa basari wa fami wa atrafi bin nur. O Allah, place light in our hearts, light in our hearing, light in our sight, and light in our limbs. Allahumma ajil qulubana safiyatan laka wa ilayk. O Allah, make our hearts pure for you and towards you. Allahumma inni as'aluka bi qalbi salim. Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah khair.